The Chinese head tax. What is the Chinese head tax? The Chinese head tax was introduced in 1885. The Canadian government put a tax on Chinese immigrants. Every Chinese immigrant was forced to pay $50 entry or a head tax before being allowed to enter Canada. The Chinese were the only ethnic group that was forced to pay this head tax before entering Canada. By the year 1900, the Canadian government raised the tax from $50 to $100, which made it even harder for Chinese immigrants to enter Canada. By 1903, the Canadian government once again raised the tax. This time it was $500. It was a huge increase. Why did the government do this? Originally, the Canadian government needed the workers when they started building the railway, as they were going bankrupt, so the Chinese workers were needed. The Chinese workers would work for half or a third of the price of the whites. After 1885, when the railway was completed, the Chinese workers were not in demand. It was after the completion of the railway that the Canadian government began charging the Chinese immigrants the head tax. Why were the Chinese leaving the country and coming to Canada? The Chinese wanted to leave China because of the famine in China. There was not enough food or work, so they came to Canada. They were looking for a better life and more work. How long did the head tax last? The head tax lasted 62 years, from 1885 to 1947. How many people did this affect? This affected about 17,000 people. This was a huge source of profit for the government, especially since the Chinese made hardly any money in exchange. How it affected the Chinese. This affected the Chinese immigrants that moved to Canada because they were not paid very much. And in 1903, when the tax was $500, that was nearly 2 years of their salary that they had to pay to the government. How is it still remembered? In 2006, the newly elected Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, gave a full apology on behalf of all the Canadians and the government, stating that it was a great injustice and something that we must acknowledge.